when you can have that feeling about what you're doing, whatever your exercise or activity level is or activity of choice is, when you can have that level of, I love what I'm doing, I love the feeling, like literally the physical feeling of it, and I want more of it, again, in a healthy dynamic, that's adherence.
Yeah.
And so I think it's huge for anyone to be able to have or to get back is what is going to keep you well for as long as possible. Which leads me to my next question. We're talking about longevity. I mean, I think qualitatively and very high level, that's it. When we talk longevity is what can I do here and now today when that is going to compound, that's going to keep me adherent to things that I want to do that I can do for as long as possible. How can we really measure or look at longevity when looking at Follistatin?
Yeah. Really, really good question. And I'm very happy you asked that question. The answer is not very good for this question because the technology to measure longevity is evolving at a very rapid pace. New algorithms are coming out, new companies are forming, the companies that are already existing that are doing biological age, testing, they're just evolving at a very rapid pace. So we are very actively involved in looking at all the companies that are doing biological age testing, epigenetic age testing, just looking at them and seeing, what we think is the best way to clock in the results. So at the moment, we were working with True Diagnostics, True Age Test. That was a very good way kind of to measure, at least for the time being.
And walk us through real quick, please. How do we measure that? What are the biomarkers? What are the tests to look at biological versus chronological?
Different companies are looking at different things, but at the most basic level, I think the best answer would be telomere length. That's one way of looking at it. Some people are looking at methylation pathways, but it is not my area of expertise. But in a nutshell, what I will say is that area is evolving very rapidly. And soon, there will probably be a variety of tests that will be very good indicators. And the company we may have an official stance in 6 months or a year that this is the test that we're recommending where you can really clock and gauge your longevity or epigenetic improvement.
Also you hit on it earlier. VO2 max now is strongly being looked at in terms of longevity, along with HRV. We're finding people in their 80s, 90s, even centenarians as this new kind of, because we didn't really measure that before.
Yeah.
HRV wasn't really
Nobody
a huge
measured
thing.
it, yeah.
Or, VO2 max, we're not getting an 80-year-old on the treadmill to run through a VO2 max test, but now we have different tests and different ways to measure that. So now, these are things that we can now measure now to see if there's an acute short-term improvement. And again, compounded over time, we know is going to eventually, who knows really, we'll see in a couple of decades, but those are going to be measurements for longevity.
Yeah. But, I want to make sure I give the very accurate information. As a scientist, it's my duty to not, if it hasn't been studied and quantified and recorded and published, I'd have to give an asterisk, that this is some intimate details that we're sharing here. These are not published. So the markers you are talking about, like HRV and these improvement, VO2 max, that's my detail that I shared. It hasn't been recorded that this will improve VO2 max, but theoretically, with what I'm laying out that, because my recovery improved and I was stronger, it adds up, That's one. Second, I think one critical component of the question you asked in this answer that's important for people to understand, one can get really caught up in biometrics. Like I have an Oura Ring, I have an Apple Watch, I had a BioStrap, I had the Whoop, you can keep going down this path and get very obsessed with it and completely lose sight of the connection with your body and how you're actually feeling. How well are you maintaining your relationship with your romantic partner? How well are you maintaining a relationship with your parents if they're alive, or your siblings? Are you being authentic at, your work, your career, with yourself? So I think it's very valuable to clock in, like do a longevity test or a biological age test, get your epigenetic tested, look at your Oura Ring data. But it is very critical to make sure the foundation of your life and health is in the right place. And I don't think there's a biometric that is going to, I guess an HRV could be, one could make a case that, you know, if your HRV is high, your relationships most likely are in a good place.